spoilers in this video. Swordfish Thoughts. So yes, spoilers throughout this video, and it's a long video, but there are time codes for different sections in the description box. Now, yeah, might as well get this part over with. This is where people either decide to keep watching or stop watching. My own film critic rating for this is a 2 out of 10. Years back I gave it a 1 out of 10, but I do think it deserves, 1 out of 10. I can't give a 0 out of 10. So 1 out of 10 means there's basically nothing of value in the movie. I give it a 2 out of 10 because from a technical standpoint, wait, nope, never mind. Got distracted, sorry. I thought for a second I was mixing up my personal rating with film critic. As a film critic, I have to give it a 2 out of 10 because from a technical standpoint, they knew what they were doing. The filming and editing, obnoxious though it may be, is technically proficient. But my personal rating is a 1 out of 10. So let's get right into the notes taken while watching. If you like, or at least don't hate this movie, I don't hate you, I just disagree with you. I know the difference, I'm not a Republican. I didn't actually intend to tear this movie apart the way I'm going to. I had honestly forgotten how absolutely awful this movie is. It's genuinely difficult to put into words. I'm not going to be covering everything, this is not one of those videos, but I mean, I've done videos where I talk about movies that have problems, and I try to say, that's a fun scene. I like how they did it. But this movie, it's just so obnoxious and just snarky and angry and hateful. It's such a hateful movie, and I can't stand hateful movies. When a movie just straight up hates an entire group of people. And this is one of the movies that hates several entire groups of people. But yeah, I'm not going to get into everything. Now, the filming and editing in the opening monologue is trying way too hard. Just, let's adjust the focus and there's another character, but we can't see who it is. And let's, close up, odd angle, and just, oh man, calm down. I'm really relieved that that monologue is not longer than it is. And there's a chance that if it was, they wouldn't have gone so overboard with it. But this is the opening moments of the movie, and not only is nothing actually happening, and we're having this diatribe by this obnoxious, pretentious jerk. But then you have this, I can imagine there were people, probably not when they watched, the people watching in the theater probably stayed, or at least probably gave it longer before they left. But if you rented this, the people who rented this, I can see a lot of them having tuned out completely and turned it off during the monologue, before he's done with the monologue. It's a really bad foot to start the film on. I should make clear, I have watched this movie a lot of times. I don't know, I guess I was probably trying desperately to understand just to really dissect what are all the things in this movie that come together to make it such utter garbage. And just, yeah, if not that, then I don't know. I can't imagine ever having actually liked this. But yeah. I'm not going to let just rage. I don't do that kind of video anymore. Move. I won't say it again. Given that this time I was clearly saying it for the audience, and it was so that I could indicate the detonator in my hand, which I'm almost certain you knew was there, because it's kind of like literally in this particular instance, your job is to either pull the trigger or make sure not to pull the trigger. and a good reason not to pull the trigger is the detonator. So it's wow. Now, yeah, I already mentioned the pretension. Yeah, to the pretentiousness of the opening monologue is galling, much like the ridiculous and heavily excessive amount of testosterone. You know, there's always like an argument, or someone is always like throwing, you know, grabbing, you know, don't tell him to, you know, shouting orders into headsets, and you know, and see that's where I love Con Air. I probably always will. I acknowledge that it's problematic. I think Crack did a good job of covering how. I I think a lot of great action movies are problematic. You know, that's just it kind of comes with the moment that they have to appeal to you on a very primal level, and a lot of that is problematic and or conservative. So, but the so it's not that I can't appreciate these tropes, but just you know that is a movie that doesn't just completely drown in testosterone, even though there is a lot. Every so often, it will have something that isn't that. Excuse me. Now, but you know, yeah, male characters are always getting into arguments with each other and berating each other and such. The entire opening monologue exists purely to verbally set up the whole hostage thing, relates to absolutely nothing. You know, I guess it sets up the that Gabriel is a movie lover. Although I'm actually no, I guess he's not actually a movie lover. He's one of those pretentious. I have to stop using the word pretentious, but yeah, it's not actually that he loves movies. He just likes to, you know, to talk about how terrible they are. But the yeah, you know, it's because it's an unexpected way to set up the you know, oh, they're talking about you know, I know the movie is Dog Day Afternoon, but they're talking about hostage. They're talking about this hostage exchange thing, you know, instead of just immediately visually saying, you know, the whole thing. I mean, the idea, the scene itself, the scene it's, excuse me, the scene itself happens. It's when you know the later in the movie we see, you know, Stan realizes that the yeah, Holly has been taken, and so he briefly looks, you know, he looks at the card, and we found out, you know, he called the agent, and the you know all three of them sat down in this coffee shop to, oh yeah, which is actually the coffee shop that they went to earlier. Excuse me, when Stan said it's impossible to, you know, it'll take forever to find one of those, and he's like, you know, look across the street, you know, yeah, so yeah, literally nothing is accomplished in the yeah. And Ginger's intro. I just briefly want to say, I know it's not like this movie is incredibly superficial, and it is so in love with the visuals it can put up on screen. So I'm going to briefly talk about that. The fade between, you know, it's a decent shot. The yeah, the what's it called, ball bearing thing rolls up, and you can see Stan's face reflected in it, and then it fades to like a, what's it called, like a garbage luggage. Yeah, one of those, you know, things in the airport with a luggage. Is that supposed to be an any kind? I mean, it's not a thematic. It doesn't go from one face to another face. It doesn't go from a very reflective surface to another reflective surface. I mean, I guess it's slightly reflective, and why didn't they just go to another reflected face? Why not like Axel in the you know in a bathroom, and you know like, I don't know, you know, he wears glasses, like, just, you know, whatever. He's looking into a mirror. He's seeing his own reflection in a mirror, and then, you know, he turns around, walks out, and when he walks out, he's already either already in the airport, and he goes up to get his luggage, or he's on the plane, and then it cuts to the plane landing, and then he gets his luggage, so something. But just, it's not a good cut. Like, had they forgotten? Did they end up in the editing room? Oh crap, we gotta end on this shot of like his face reflecting, but we don't have anything good to cut to. Just fade to black. You know, that would have made it so much better. You know, from that, fade to black 4 days earlier, cover the entire screen, fade back, and then and then you fade, and then you, at the end of that fade, yeah, it fades into the shot of the luggage. Are we certain that the editor wasn't like replaced right after, and he was trying to sabotage the movie? Because it is a terrible cut. I realize this is superficial, but the movie is superficial. The movie has absolutely nothing of interest to offer to the world. It's just trying to be cool and be edgy. It's trying to provoke. You know, you have that thing of, can you imagine if we killed millions of people, not to save anyone, but just to maintain our way of life? Ooh, edgy, because the government will kill people through the military. It's like it just makes me think of that. The government calls it the army, but a more alarmist term would be the killbot factory. Just come on, man. This is ridiculous. You're not being clever. You're just being ridiculous. It's impossible to take it seriously. Anyway, Ginger is introduced chewing on, I forget what, red vine. That's what it's called, right? I was sitting there recording the notes, and I was like, what are they called? The pretty sure it's called the red vine. Anyway, it's one of those red, long, like gummy kind of thing. Not technically gummy, but I don't know what it's called in English. I don't talk candy very much in English. The people I buy candy from don't speak English to me. So but yeah, chewing on, pussing, that kind of thing, for your basic oral fixation, just to make absolute sure, and when we see her walk up, we get slow motion, and then she's like, let me play golf, and she bends over, and it's just, come on, man, it's ridiculous. Are you trying to sell me a hamburger? Is that what's going on here? I'm pretty sure you're trying to sell me a hamburger here, and I'm not buying. So can we please get on with the rest of the movie? You know what? Never mind. I'm gonna turn the movie off and do something productive with my life. Like, I you know anything that would not feel as brain meltingly mind numbing. I'm gonna go watch paint dry. That's what I'm gonna do. 23 minutes in, and one of the main characters says that a 10-year-old girl is going to end up working in porn movies. Thank you for that movie. Thank you. I don't have a problem with pornography, but the movie is clearly saying it would be, oh, can you imagine if his daughter ended up, appealing to this kind of fathering of, you want to protect young girls from that kind of thing. And I don't think anybody who doesn't want to work in porn or, any kind of sex work or the like, if you don't want to work there, you shouldn't have to, and anyone who does work there should be allowed, they should have a good chance of getting a different job, which sadly is not the case. But clearly the movie is trying to say, and they're using a 10-year, that's so gross, just so disgusting. And I realize, I mean, she only said fluffer, she didn't say something. Come on, that's just so gross. And the fact that her mother works in that field doesn't mean, and stepfather doesn't mean that she's going to end up like that. But it's just, it's trying to appeal. It's hilarious because it's a movie that's supposed to make, like, if a conservative sits down and watches it, it's supposed to make, like, the monocle. It's supposed to create a monocle just so that it can pop out, and just the but then it has such a conservative mindset that, oh, we have to protect, what is, you know this the yeah, this the young women have to be protected from pornography. I If they genuinely believe that she's going to end up working in that, I'm pretty sure like child protective services or something could be called on them and see if I don't know, would you use the word grooming for that, if she's being groomed into that kind of work at age 10? But just, yeah. And I think I had almost forgotten, but when Stanley kicks Ginger out, it's not when she says fluffer. It's when she says, "Have you spoken to your daughter recently?" I get it. I get that that's supposed to be such a sensitive subject, and we're also supposed to find it funny that this cool, powerful woman is being, treated badly by a man that she clearly doesn't think highly of. But it's just, that would at least have been some, if she, but just, yeah. Okay, we get it. Holly's mother is a terrible mother, and yet she still has custody. Just, I'm not going to pretend. There are issues with the custody, the laws surrounding custody. And yes, some parents have custody even though, you know, maybe kind of shouldn't. I find it kind of funny. Like, you have a movie like this saying, oh, she shouldn't have custody because she's making porn, and then you have like a movie like, what's it, Demi Moore, Striptease, where it's like she should still have, her husband's a criminal. He steals money, but she's a sex worker. She should still be able to, take care of her child. I'm not going to talk about whether that's a good movie or a bad movie. I just find it kind of funny that that movie's going in that direction, and this movie is literally going in the entire opposite direction. It's like, sure, he's been in prison for 2 years, but she's making pornography. Just the no, obviously a 10-year-old shouldn't be anywhere near porn, but she also shouldn't be anywhere near, a gun. Would would if Holly's mother was a cop, would that make her a bad parent? Because technically a gun would be close to just. It's so stupid. Presumably, the you know the they lock the door so that this 10-year-old wouldn't be able to get close. And presumably she doesn't have access to this. Oh, wait. Do they say that it's like at home that they do it? Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know what? Under those circumstances, yeah, maybe she should be in a different location. Anyway, but yeah, the as I was saying, helping to produce porno movies, obviously worse than being a convicted criminal who spent time in prison. Prison doesn't exactly make you a better parent. You know that, right? Movie, it's just, wow. And the whole thing with Axel Torvald is just, it's just there so that he can explain about Gabriel, sorry. Put the emphasis on the wrong, yeah, the syllable, that's how it goes. He can explain about Gabriel and have some, and so the movie can have someone killed early in the running time. He exists in a world beyond your world. Trust me, the soundtrack of that world is mind-numbing. No, I didn't call you Roberts. What do you want? I don't know what Roberts wants, but what the movie wants is to cheaply establish early the ridiculous level to which the bad guys can get into places like police stations, and just they walk in there, they shoot a guy, they walk right out without any problem. That's ridiculous. Not even by, I get that, it's an action movie, we're supposed to suspend disbelief. I can suspend disbelief. I can buy a lot. The that idea is just ridiculous, and the rest of the movie doesn't, the rest of the movie, these are actually capable, like, cops and SWAT and all these are actually capable. So it's not. It's anyway. It legitimately is outright ridiculous just how thoroughly, consistently, and strongly sexualized every woman, except for the ones who are only victims, in this is. Excuse me. I realize that part of Gabriel's plan is to attract the attention of Jobson, so it's not a mistake that Ginger takes them through a regular airport instead of just using private, which wouldn't be noticed. But the filmmakers are really tipping their hand because supposedly Gabriel is this super genius who thinks of everything and can do just everything. So it's pretty obvious that there's something else going on even this early in the movie. It's a movie that genuinely thinks that the moviegoer, at least the moviegoer who will like the movie, is a complete moron. Like I would feel insulted if I liked the movie that it is so certain that you'll miss such an obvious, like, right there you should know that there's a huge, there's definitely something else going on. It genuinely is hilarious just how little an understanding the movie makers have of how computers and hacking work. I love when the like they're talking about, oh yeah, it's 200 encryption, oh 512, 1024 encryption. Just come on, man. And by the end of the movie, none of these words mean anything because in this movie, computers are magic. And if someone is being threatened, Stanley can hack anything, regardless of what else has been established. Just, yeah. It's especially hilarious when if you see there's an alternate ending. I briefly looked up to see if, apparently on the DVDs there are two alternate endings. I only know one of them, but one of them is that Stanley actually did hack in and empty, move the money from those accounts, and just, at that point it's beyond self-parody. Like, if it's so impossible to get through all this stuff, then how can he continue? And once he does that, he's not even at the, like they say, oh, you need direct access to one of these computers, and those are only in banks. In the ending one, or I don't know, is it supposed to be that it further delayed, even though he already did the delay thing? Just, I'm not who I think who you. I'm not who I think I am. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not who you think I am. Another way too early clue that there's something else going on. Ginger is always telling Stanley not to wear what he's wearing. And yet another case of Holly's mother being a terrible parent, and Stan gets to pick her up instead. I just want to say, later in the movie, by the way, I might swear some in this video. I'm not anticipating swearing as much in this video as they do in the movie, but just actually, no, never mind. I might not swear at all. Yeah, later on, like, Stan is like, this has been a really crappy day so far, and this is just making it worse. Including the part where you got to meet your daughter, for spend time with your daughter for the first time in, like, an absurd amount of, like, I guess 2 years or something. It's just, yeah. Stanley actually thinks he'll have less trouble if he assaults a federal officer than if he just lets them take him in. And worse still is that the movie agrees with him. He's like, just, it's okay, just go, Oh, here are all the things I could arrest you for, but just go, it's fine. Just, so stupid. It's almost kind of funny that they think it's exciting watching people rolling down hills, sliding down tarps. It's perfectly competently made from a technical standpoint, but outside of that, it might be one of the worst action scenes. It is one of the worst action scenes I've watched in any movie ever. It is so boring, and it just goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes of nothing. Just because you can have a character fall down for that long doesn't mean you should. It just, like, I've seen action scenes in movies that have no production value. I've seen, like, the any action scene in El Mariachi, or movies that are worse than El Mariachi. At least it's not just people falling for several minutes. Just like, I mean, I'm not saying there's no place to have someone just falling down for 2 or 3 minutes. I think it might make a decent screensaver, but I don't. It's not an exciting action scene. Just it's why fast forward buttons were put on remotes. And we're told that Stan did something good, even though he knew it might put him in jail. He's a hacker with a heart. He just wants to keep the wrong people from reading private emails, but the movie kind of undermines that by the fact that he does obviously go ahead and steal $9.5 billion for someone he obviously doesn't trust. And yeah, and I think when he does it, hasn't he already had the conversation about, kill 1 million people to save our way of life, preserve our way of life? The fact that he's doing it for the good of one person that he really cares about doesn't at all justify what he's doing. He doesn't know what that money is going to go towards. It might hurt countless innocent people, but I guess they're not reading anybody's private email, so he doesn't care. It was definitely necessary for the movie to have Halle Berry stripped down to partially see-through lingerie underwear for the movie to show us that she's wearing a wire. It's not automatically a bad thing for a movie to sexualize a character, but in this movie and a lot of movies like it, it is always for the benefit of the presumed straight male viewer. Just in time to watch Stanley find our worm. If Stan at that exact moment booted up Earthworm Jim, this movie might almost be worth it. Yeah, okay, that's a lie. Nothing would make it worth it. The cure for cancer wouldn't make it worth it. Do you really think there's any aspect of this operation that I don't know about? I think you would have more of a case if you didn't just express confusion at what he was talking about. It really wouldn't have been difficult for Gabriel, like he goes, what about this current predicament you're in? He could just say, yeah, it could have been. All you had to do was just cut the. I think, I think at least one of the people editing this movie might have been secretly trying to sabotage it, undermine it. All you had to do was cut out just cut directly from kind of predicament you're in to him saying, "Do you honestly think there's any aspect of this operation that I don't know about?" That's it. That's all And if you want to have the download your file thing, you know, you could have him already having just downloaded his file. Yeah, you know, have like the you know, yeah, show like a little dialog box that says file successfully downloaded, and and his name, and then you see like the pictures of Stan, and and then you see that, yeah, so telling the us that it is, yeah. Poor Hugh Jackman. He really does try to sell it when they try to visualize the hacking that Stan is doing. It's hard for me to put into words how relieved I am that this movie is less than 100 minutes rather than, I don't know, more than 150 like Michael Bay would probably have made it once he started making Transformers sequels. The movie's already ridiculously tough to sit through as it is, but if it was much longer, that honestly, if I didn't know that see, before, yeah, it says 95 on the cover, which I'll get to at the end of this section. So, you can jump ahead to the next section if you want to know, and rewind by a little bit. Anyway, if I hadn't seen that there, I wouldn't have made it all the way through the movie. If this movie was over 100 minutes, I wouldn't have been able to sit through the whole thing. It also helps that I had watched it before, so, like, it can only hit you it hits you the hardest the first time you watch a movie, and even so, my mind had blocked out a lot of how terrible this movie is. Stan finds the dead body that looks like Gabriel, and then they have, you look like you've seen a ghost, and just, this movie's made for 13-year-olds, and then you have that line, seriously? I will say, Gabriel using pistols and a machine gun to kill all the people sent to kill him is a decent action scene. And Gabriel, I think I read in the, like, was it the, maybe the IMDb goof section for this movie, that this is the movie that spread that urban legend about Thomas Jefferson. I can't help but, right after Gabriel says it, the senator starts to say, hold on a minute, Thomas Jefferson, excuse me, and then, and then Gabriel shoots him. I can't help but wonder if he was about to correct him on the urban legend, and Gabriel, of course, lashes out, as people who spread lies always do when they're caught. I'm not saying they all shoot people, though a lot of them would if they could. But I am not without ethics. Say it, Stan. Say, yes, I effing understand. See, I can't help but think of much better movies when that I could be watching. I don't understand. If you listen, then you will. You have to understand how much you're asking us by asking us to do, by asking us to listen to such an obnoxious character. Because wars cost money. I didn't realize Republicans realize that, or at least they don't say it when there's cameras in front of them. And we're back where we started, the only difference being that now we question our choice to watch this movie so much more than at the start. No, it didn't. You screwed me. Why did you ask if you already knew the answer, you jerk? And we reach that magical moment when Ginger has her status upgraded from sexualized female character to sexualized female character who is also a victim. And that is the in this movie and countless others, that's the best a female female actress can do. There's no greater honor. She certainly can't be complex and interesting and just wow. You'll be begging me for this bullet. Wow, that was a terrible accent. Anyway, forget the suppository. Just show them 10 minutes of this freaking movie. You give your $20 to Greenpeace every year thinking you're saving the world. If you force me to watch this movie twice in a row, I will give you everything I own as long as you promise to never make another movie like it. So I guess Gabriel did plan for the bus to be hanging, by only one string instead of two. I wonder if he had like backup plans, contingency plans, just in case that happened. But he probably did plan it because for people to accept he died in a helicopter, it needed to look like things were not going the way he planned. And he didn't care if Stan died in the bus, which could very easily have happened since he already got the money. He couldn't possibly have known that Stan would survive the fall. But he himself was probably in a good enough position to, and because the building was fairly close, it wouldn't have been difficult for Ginger to get there. I will say, the first time I watched it, I think I believed that she was dead. But when you think about it, you see her, you see her shot, but you don't see blood. Obviously, she was wearing a vest, and the what's it called? Yeah, all she has to do is pretend it killed her and lie there for a few seconds while until Stan has left. It can't have been more than maybe a minute that she had to play dead. That's not difficult. It's not like he took her pulse or some kind of and no one was watching there was probably he had hired someone to come in and move the body to allow her to hide and Actually, I guess we don't know if it's her who helps him escape the other buildings. Probably someone. Anyway, a lot of the way I do accept that Gabriel made things look convincing, but how could he possibly have known that Stanley would be able to fire the RPG before the agent stopped him? Or, I don't know, maybe the idea is just supposed to be later the helicopter got taken out by something else. It wouldn't be as effective, certainly, but anyway. But yeah, Stanley did spend several seconds getting the RPG, during which Gabriel could have run, down that stairwell. But then the editing seems to imply that he only ran down the stairwell after the helicopter blew up. That is ridiculous. Obviously, he would have been noticed. See, I think maybe it's just at least one person editing it didn't quite understand how editing works. All you had to do was like have a sort of, yeah, after you see the it blow up, just have, let's see, I forget what, but there is a visual way of indicating that what we're seeing is actually, yeah, just cut to, the shot of him running down the stairs, and then have the camera like flip 180 degrees, and then you see Stanley running out of the bus. So as he was running out of the bus, he did briefly see someone, but he's like, I don't care, I gotta shoot down the helicopter, but yeah. See, Stan doesn't tell Don Cheadle's character that Gabriel is still out there, and thus he allows Gabriel to keep doing what he's doing, accepting it. Holly is incredibly happy, considering that her mother died maybe one day ago. And Ginger transfers money, meets back up with Gabriel, who has a new, equally ridiculous look. I mean, I don't know what John Travolta did. Maybe nothing. Some people just hold grudges, but whoever came up with his two looks, hate him. They are terrible. They are so, that little goatee thing and little blonde hair with the just, wow, it looks so awful on him. 90 minutes in, and mercifully, the credits start rolling. Right after the camera moves into a big fireball explosion. Another one. One of a handful of superficial things that the movie is far more interested in than telling a good story, creating compelling characters. So yeah, it's 95.5 minutes with end credits. Now, my VHS copy of the movie comes with an alternate ending after the end credits have all run, in which Ginger attempts to get money, but it turns out that Stanley emptied them except for $500. And Stan is then seen, the yeah, putting the money into charity, which does say he has ethics, or at least enough to have a problem with what Gabriel was doing. It's filmed in the same set. In fact, right after they talk about the charitable donations, he asks Holly, or is that enough? Are you done or something? And she says, oh yeah, I'm full. I think it's the same take, in fact. And Gabriel and Ginger are also in the exact same place. It's just different lines, and the reveal of his face is even filmed in the exact same way. And then there's a 12-minute documentary on the making of the movie. They actually did fly a bus through LA. Some of it was effects, but a helicopter was airlifted by a bus, and a bus was smashed into the side of a building. And those were not done the same way. That would have been too dangerous for the, yeah. But some of that, so that is kind of cool. And altogether, what's on the VHS is 107.5 minutes. These extras were probably put on the tape in an attempt to increase VHS sales, since DVDs were starting to come out not many years before this came out in VHS and DVD, which probably, you could probably get those special features on the DVD, so, you don't have to watch the entire movie. And there, you wouldn't have to watch the entire movie before you can watch the documentary, so, yeah. And again, I just briefly, I didn't check what years the DVDs came out, but I doubt that this was given another release, like a completely new, brand new release, very long. I did see that it was on Blu-ray, so I guess someone is still, yeah. Anyway, yeah, just briefly before, yeah, in case you skipped ahead to the end of this section and then rewound just briefly to here. Yeah, the movie is 90 minutes without end credits, 95.5 with end credits, and 107.5 with all the special features as well. And moving on to the next section, entitled Notes Taken Before Watching. Now, who watched X-Men 1 and what they took away from it was Halle Berry and Hugh Jackman should be in more movies together. I will grant they're way better together in this than that. And for those watching this video and who are watching this video and don't already know it, I love the first two X-Men movies and Days of Future Past. So I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying nothing about their scenes together in the movie would make me think that they should be in more movies together. But you know, and the let's see. I'm really glad that their careers survived this. I did did Halle Berry's career survive Catwoman? I'm not sure it did. I don't have any current plans on doing videos on that movie, but that really is terrible. And it's too bad. Last time I checked, at least, maybe it's come up since then. I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something. It's probably been longer. Anyway, the Nostalgia Chick had a video. Lindsay Ellis, when she did Nostalgia Chick videos, did one where she talked about, what was it, the five biggest, or yeah, whatever. She talked about the various female-led comic book adaptations. Not all of them are superhero. Tank Girl isn't superhero. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be superhero at all. But it is a comic book adaptation. You know, that kind of, yeah. And she talks about Catwoman, and she doesn't talk about it for long, but she does a great job. It's too bad that I hope she puts it up at some point. She has been putting up her old videos. I'm not saying that this movie has to imitate or surpass other movies, but I am going to briefly comment on the bullet time effect used here, which was obviously inspired by The Matrix. And before anyone says, "Oh, there are ads," bullet time, if you the way The Matrix, when people talk about The Matrix and they use the words bullet time, what they're specifically referring to is when the camera spins 360 degrees around the action on screen. Not talking about slow motion. Obviously, you know, people like John Woo were using slow motion very well long before the Matrix, you know. And John Woo is in fact one of the many obvious inspirations for the Matrix. You know, they wanted to make a movie that looked like something of his in part, you know, along with tons of other. Anyway, the point of bullet time is to sort of be able to fully take in this one event, you know, get this 360-degree view on it. It's sort of a logical conclusion to John Woo's style filming of action where the camera caresses the guns and the shooting and such. In The Matrix, when you see a bullet time shot, it is celebrating one of the good guys doing something incredible. In this movie, the bullet time is used to highlight just how devastating this genuinely monstrous terrorist bomb is. They didn't think it was enough to put explosives directly onto hostages. They didn't think it was enough to show the viewers, and this is basically how the movie opens, people dying on account of bombs strapped to hostages, and with these, what are they called, ball bearings, you know, yeah, he says they're claymore mines, essentially. No, they went ahead and added, yeah, sorry, got ahead of myself. They went ahead and added ball bearings to the bombs, and the bullet time allows us to fully take in how many innocents and good guys are harmed, even killed by the terrorists. This is how they open the movie, trying to show how cool it looks when good people die in a brutal way. Just because you can make something look cool doesn't mean you should, and it really speaks to the morals, or lack thereof, of the filmmakers that they went for this. Now, let's see. Some of the music in this really sounds terrible. It makes me wish I couldn't hear a thing. Then I couldn't make a starfish any quieter. And final section, let's say short section. IMDb, Wikipedia, and critic sites. Now, let's see. I'm gonna skip right through this. And right. So yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes. The critics' consensus: Swordfish is big on explosions, but critics dislike how it skips on plot and logic. Also, the sight of a person typing at a computer just isn't that interesting. I think that's the only time I've seen a critics' consensus say critics, dislike or just. I guess it's always this sort of disembodied voice of what's the consensus of a lot. So I don't know. I guess I figured it would say we dislike, but yeah, okay. I guess yeah, it makes enough sense. 26% on the tomato meter with 138 counted, and only 36 of them were fresh, and 60% audience score, which is just the fact that it's not much lower is very sad, but at least it could be much, much worse. Movies like The Matrix, I'm almost certain are much, much higher, so people do have taste still. I just, there's a difference between, I kind of enjoyed this, and I want people to know that I enjoyed this. Like, you know, if you realize that it's bad, maybe don't reward it just because you also thought it was somewhat fun. Now, let's see. Did I not? Oh, that's right. Huh. I don't remember if I didn't put in Rotten Tomato reviews or if it's just that I put the meta ones. Am I putting Metacritic reviews above Rotten Tomatoes reviews? Even though the tomato meter, I may rethink that if that's really. Anyway, excuse me. Metacritic pro review, critics reviews rather than user reviews. It has a 32 on the Metascore with 33 reviews total, 4 positive only, 14 mixed, and 15 negative. See, that's how it should be. But the fact that there are 2 that are positive is actually. Yeah, what this guy said. This guy gave it an 88 out of 100 and said, a souped-up roadster of a film, a relentless action flick that looks great, moves with more grace and speed than seems possible. I would say that's basically true, yeah. Those are the good parts, yeah. And this other guy gave it a 75 out of 100. That's the, wait, was it? Oh wait, there were 4 positive reviews. A good movie? Hardly, but more than enough to pass a dog day afternoon. That's not exactly a, incredible, what's the, yeah, endorsement. Not exactly much of an endorsement. And see, the next guy, I'm not going to read the entire, not review, but the entire excerpt, but it's junk to be sure, but it's superbly made junk. I think that's really exactly. And Roger Ebert, skillfully mounted and fitfully intriguing, but weaves such a tangled web that at the end I defy anyone in the audience to explain the exact loyalties and motives of the leading characters. And then we get into the mixed. Let's see. So fast, sleek, and riveting it almost makes you expect miracles, which never materialize. Let's see. The action is constant, often pointless, definitely gratuitous, breathlessly fun. Ridiculous, but occasionally fun. Half absorbing, half ridiculous techno thriller that often goes too far in search of audience rousing effects. Too far ethically or too far otherwise? High impact, high powered mess. Raise the bar for over the topness. A slick, cynical, nasty piece of heist film plotting that hides its more obvious logical gaps in technobabble and distracting spectacles of wanton violence and big explosions. So much luck is pressed with an absurdly overblown finale that 60 seconds will likely be Swordfish's shelf life after a couple of noisy opening weekends. Jinxed itself into being nothing but an inane popcorn flick pretending to be edgy. And yeah, I'm gonna, as satisfying as this is, let me just say that, it's, yeah, if you too hate the movie, then it is enjoyable to read the, read the Metacritic reviews. Now, let's see. Noisy obnoxious, this flashy action picture is so hellbent on seeming smart that it fairly forces you to think about how fundamentally stupid it is. I noted to see if I had anything. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. And yeah, and then there's this review that says, not all cartoon violence, there's cartoon nudity too. Barry was paid a well-publicized $500,000 bonus to bare her breasts in the movie. People always try to make women who do this sound cheap, which makes her look worse, asking for more money, saying she doesn't want more money for it, or refusing to bare her breasts outright. Maybe the critic writing this didn't know. And yes, I am saying that I don't think he should write things like that. I really don't think we need more people judging women for their sexualization in media. There are issues with sexualization of women in media, but the moment that you go after the woman doing it, yeah, it's problematic. Anyway, right. Maybe maybe the critic did not know, but let's see. Yeah, I think the IMDb trivia, excuse me, mentions that she did it because she knew it was gratuitous, because it would enable her. I mean, it's basically like bungee jumping. She just needed she just needed to go over so that she had faced her fear of it. It's not that she thought that it was, and then, yeah, would it make her seem better or worse if she said that she didn't need more money to do it, or asking for a bonus for it? Now, let's see. John. One more bad guy role in bad movie, and you're gonna need another comeback. That's quite good. About 45 minutes into Swordfish, the picture degenerates permanently from drivel to sleaze. Only a short drop. The cinema of morons made by morons for morons. Swordfish is everything you expect, but worse. I think that's quite, yeah. Now, the Metacritic user reviews, it has a 6.4 out of 10. 141 ratings given, with 78 positive, 30 mixed, and 33 negative. And there's almost no, let's see, there aren't very many reviews. Most people just voted. I love when like reviewers are so insecure that they can't just say this is my opinion. People has their own opinion, and most people will agree with me that this is a very good movie. Did I mention that this guy gave it a 10 out of 10? Wow. Let's see. This is a must-watch for any movie fans. Let's see. And yeah, this guy gave it a 6 out of 10. He says, you know, there are thrills to be had, like the chopper carrying the bus in the air, and the car chase with the TBR. There's also the club-esque attitude of the atmosphere and a sleek, stylish feel with house soundtrack to match. The, yeah, I agree. If you like the, you know, yeah, I don't have anything to add to the first sentence, but the second sentence, if you like those aspects, then you know this movie does get that. Again, from a technical standpoint, it's it is well made. And let's see, I guess yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that one. Well, that seems like yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy just copied one of the professional reviews from and put it. I've seen that done a couple of times. No, there are no Rotten Tomatoes reviews. Yeah, I now that I think, or maybe I can't possibly have forgotten to copy them in. Not worth it. No, no, it's maybe I forgot to copy them in. I'll ah, let's see. I mean, I guess it won't be. See, the computer that I have the notes on is on the old side, and it's kind of slow. But I think I can probably, yeah, I'm gonna, in the background, while I do the notes, I'm gonna see if I can't get the Rotten Tomatoes reviews up, but until then, let's move on to the IMDb. I gotta read you the taglines. Log on, hack in, go anywhere, steal everything. Once you know the password, you can go anywhere. Log in, log out, leg it, password accepted. Log on, hack in, go anywhere, get everything. Okay, so let me just try to make sure that there isn't dead air while I look away from my notes and briefly go and open Rotten Tomatoes on the computer. Let's see. Oh, wow, I really did not at all make a shortcut to Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, all right, it's in here. I have it there. Okay, I'll probably take some seconds. Okay, let's see. Right, yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Halle Berry agreed to the topless scene because she wanted to overcome her fear of doing nude scenes. This, you know, and she got $500,000 on top of her initial fee of $2 million. To overcome fear makes a lot of sense. And you know, some movies do use nudity well. It's not always just for allure. And yeah, this says, you know, Thomas Jefferson did not shoot a man on the White House lawn for treason. This movie is the source of that rumor. Now, it's not that I saw someone say that, but the way it reads, it's hard for me to read that in a neutral tone because it really sounds like the guy who wrote that was so angry at this movie. Like, and I get it. I don't care anywhere near as much as he does, but it really is infuriating. Of a just why didn't they just like why not just say use a movie thing? He's constantly quoting movies. Why not just say, this is what, that you've seen this part of the movie, right? Where the something, but yeah. Let's see. But yeah, it's probably some poor Snopes editor that they, finally convinced him to, some one of us has to go and add it to the. Okay, let me real quick. So, this might bounce the camera. Sorry about that. Swordfish, and it's gonna take. Oh, never mind. It's not gonna take very long at all. Okay, so let's see if I can find reviews. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, I must have just forgotten. Happens occasionally. Oh right, there are 15 pages. I think I looked at that and I was like, I'll do it later, and then later never really came. I guess I could, yeah, let me just briefly skim these. It's a good thing that action is noisily distracting because you don't want any downtime in which to ponder the plausibility or the sense of anything that is happening. The story is just what fills the gaps between the slow-motion fireballs, Matrix stuff, frozen mayhem, and Halle Berry's undraped breasts. The sleazy script by Skip Woods slimes the actors. An action opera designed to elicit Beavis and Butthead level appreciation. And let's see. Excuse me. Yeah, a bunch of these don't actually have like they just have the a link, but not an excerpt of the review. It calls itself a thriller, apparently because it is loaded with pointless machinations that pile up into a tortured wreck of narrative desperation. Let me real quick. There we go. I knew you had it in you. Gotta zoom. I forgot about. Whoa. Come on, man. There we go. Some explosions, a lot of techno, 2 X-Men, and a sweat hog. Jaded, cynical, dumb, and degenerate. Plays out like Jerry Bruckheimer's table scraps, going through the motions in a clueless fog of market research statistics and demographic pandering. Trite and overdone and undercooked and thrown together and ridiculous and wasteful. And let's see. Excuse me. Little more than an excuse to insert as much violence, profanity, and sex as possible into a postmodern exercise in futility. Let's see. It's easy to dislike what Swordfish is selling, but it makes a compelling pitch. While embracing and celebrating its lowest common denominator aspirations, makes make the film refreshingly unpretentious and modestly diverting, it doesn't make it a good one. And yeah. If you're interested in what the wanton violence and amorality says about the decline of Western civilization, you just shouldn't see Swordfish in the first place. Slick but unsatisfying. Here and there, amid the sensory overload of what is essentially a high-end exploitation movie, exactly, you can discern bits and pieces of an impossibly complicated plot. It is the first time you watch the movie, you probably won't be able to follow all the plot twists. Now, I've watched it a lot of times. You know, I'd forgotten a lot of things, but I hadn't forgotten the plot twists. I remembered every single plot twist. It's still not like like if you've watched it several times and you know all the plot twists and you can tell who's working for who and how it's like obvious. Like for example, when Ginger, you know, when Stan sees Ginger's wire, that's intentional because the idea is for Stan to accept when the you know when Gabriel shoots Ginger and says she was DEA, that tells Stan and the audience he knew that she was DEA. We've accepted that she must be DEA. If not for that, then why is he shooting her? That would make no sense. You know, so there's it's not that there's absolutely nothing, but it just is, you know, by yeah, when you've watched the whole thing, it's still not particularly compelling and it just yeah. The movie tries for a vibe that is cool, amoral, and ambiguous, but what it gets is a vibe that is manipulative and insincere. Cena hopes that his high-octane pace and eye-popping stunts will keep viewers from noticing just how empty and exercised this all is. Cena's action lacks personality and focus. It comes off like someone who blares a stereo while constantly switching channels. Fish food. Strictly style above content to the point that even cracking is shown as being a bit like Tetris. A disappointing film suffering from a lack of self-control. Now, let's see. There we go. The kind of movie where glass smashing in slow motion serves the same function as extended guitar solos did in 70s rock concerts. Exactly. Well put. Cena doesn't back up his bravado, and indeed, his film is rather flushable. The film may have a decent array of elaborate action sequences, but they alone can neither make nor carry a picture. And I have to agree. I do think some of the action is good. Yeah, yeah. Not good enough to raise it above a 1 out of 10, which is, again, the lowest rating I can give it. I go by the IMDb system where you can't give it a 0. It's 1 out of 10 is the absolute lowest that you can possibly give it. And I can't really yeah, that's all this excess leading to nothing much. Ugly fireballing cartoons like this, steeped in cynicism, devoid of sense, seem to be creating a new cinema, both cybernetic and Neanderthal. Yeah, I gotta stop reading the. Let's see. Computers that flash access denied until the last possible second, then say access granted, are not quite the hair-raising suspense vehicles that screenwriters seem to believe. Yeah, I'm not gonna read aloud every single one because again, the viewer can do that for yourself. I try to make sure these videos have something that you can't get by just going on there and reading by yourself. So I'm just by the seventh explosion, you can't help wondering whether all this flashy stuff amounts to more of a smokescreen shielding a lack of spine or soul. I would have to agree. And so I'll try just to fill this, so it won't just be dead air. That yeah, I just got done with page 8 of 15 of the reviews. So let me see if I think Skip Woods is in general a writer who there are some of his scripts that aren't actually too bad, but a lot of his work is bad. It's almost kind of weird that he keeps getting work. I'm not sure anybody particularly likes any of the movies he's written. And, but you can tell that it is one of his because the stupidity, the amoral, all this, yeah, just interesting. Okay, here we go. And I haven't watched Gone in 60 Seconds, but I really don't want to. Especially knowing this movie, but I haven't heard if it's as awful as this is. I remember there was you know the there was this film fan who told me that the car chase stuff in the in Mission Impossible 2 is those couple of scenes are better than the than all of the car stuff in Gone in 60 Seconds. And okay, almost done now. There we go. I don't usually forget. This is the first time I've forgotten to put them in meaningless and superfluous car chases, meaningless and superfluous shootouts, and most of all, meaningless and superfluous sex stuff. And there. Excuse me. If John Woo were in a coma after a botched full frontal lobotomy, he could still make a better action movie than Swordfish. It's funny because it's true. There we go. And disgusting and immoral. There we go. I don't usually, you know, a lot of the time I don't like when people say things like that about movies, and I often think that ideas like that are, we have to be careful not to hang on to old ideas of what is moral and what isn't. That was an issue, as I've heard that Disney has done a lot to deal with that. I haven't watched their animated movies in a long time. I guess. Well, yeah. There was someone asked me to watch Tangled with them, and that's perfectly fine. I didn't think it was like some masterpiece, but I don't know. I do think there were definitely some interesting elements with the what's it called, the witch using, as to remain eternal. I guess that I'm not entirely sure how late in the movie you find that out. Anyway, I think there were some interesting ideas about the witch and her motivations. Let's see, but the swordfish has a smell to it, like it's not fresh. The yeah, Disney had a bit of a problem the for a while of being stuck in this old, and people started calling their movies out for it. The you have all these movies focused on, the Disney princess, and for a while, none of them actually do anything. They sit around and wait to be rescued. And people were like, this is not, you really want to be teaching children this? That girls shouldn't take an active role? And they did, then they did, the movie Mulan does a decent job. Pocahontas is fairly proactive, but yeah, like I said, I've heard that Frozen is a really great, what's the term, like that really goes whole hog in tackling the issues, and that it really works, and I admire that. But yeah, you have to be careful not to. But yeah, this movie is amoral. The ideas, it repurposes. It takes that idea of, oh, they blow up one of our, we blow up 10 of theirs, and it's just the yeah, it's just gross. It's just really, really gross. Now, let's see. And excuse me. John Travolta and Hugh Jackman both loved to sing show tunes. On set, they often sang songs from Oklahoma and other musicals together. That's that's funny. I have to wonder if they did that to kind of counter all the, you know, all this really ugly, toxic masculinity and just ridiculous testosterone going on. Again, keep in mind, I love Con Air, which is also a movie with a lot of testosterone. Blade One also has a lot, but yeah. Let's see. And right, yeah, the it is interesting that Stanley says the government was legally spying on U.S. citizens' emails. This plotline was likely considered a far-fetched notion to viewers of a movie that was released 3 months before the September 11, 2001 attacks, and more than a year before real-life government spying of the kind described in the movie was exposed. I That's true. It actually it predicted that kind of thing. That is very impressive. I'll give it that one. That's Yeah. There's almost nothing in this movie that I will speak highly of, but that is one. And all those things combined, once again, all those things combined, still do not make me give this a higher rating than the very lowest I can give it. Now, let's see. And let's see. Right, and yeah, it says Axel Torvalds is speaking German in the interrogation scene, not Finnish. If you can't tell the difference between how those two languages sound, you you definitely need to listen to, yeah, just watch more European cinema. That's I'm sorry. You should have a better ear for languages than, yeah. And right, and also, unlike many Hollywood movies, the amount of ammunition and firearms is depicted correctly. And let's see. 'Right, and yeah, there's this thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna read this entire thing, but the IMDb trivia lists something about IP addresses, and there's some kind of, yeah, the let's see, yeah, you can't have a number higher than 255, and it has some explanation for that. But they make sure that the IP addresses on Stanley's screen do yeah, there's always at least one that's higher than 255, such as 312. This is apparently the filmmaker's way of ensuring that no one's real IP address appeared. I can respect that. 2600, the Hacker Quarterly magazine, was approached by Warner Brothers for permission to use their magazine and name the film. Warner Brothers was suing 2600 at the time for linking to the DVD deciphering program DECSS. The magazine said no. Well, duh. Wow. It's unreal that they the gall. Would you want to be that guy to like, I mean, maybe not like in person, but sitting there and typing up that email and like, yeah, hey, I know that we're kind of suing you guys, but how would you feel about if we used if we try to get some credibility off your hard work? I'm not saying, look, there are definitely issues with, DVD ripping and such, but just, you gotta go one side. You can't try to do both of them. Wow. Now, let's see. And let's see. And I guess that's all that there is. Dominic Sena told Drea De Matteo, make the audience hate you right away. And when directing this movie, he took his own advice. Now, let's see. Stan Jobson is clearly named after Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple. He's modeled after the cool computer geniuses of William Gibson's cyberpunk novels. I can kind of see that, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I guess that is about what I have to comment on. Right, yeah. The original screenplay draft had a very different take on the Gabriel Scheer character. It was first written as a mercenary whose plan for the stolen DEA funds had him joining forces with military intelligence figures and planning to destroy corrupt politicians, and had several lengthy monologues in which US agents listened to him and then joined his crusade on the spot. That's really creepy. While the funding and covert war angle was maintained, Skip Woods later remade Gabriel Scheer into a patriotic agent who seeks to destroy world terrorists and kills the senator and his aide for trying to kill him and stop his plans. And the climax was originally intended to be an airport shootout. Now, I am not going to comment on the whole thing with 9/11 and the similarities there might be between 9/11 and one or more action scenes in this. Now, no, they made the movie before 9/11. They didn't know. They weren't capitalizing on the, yeah. In the film's opening speech, excuse me, just, what is, this is a character error on the, oh, right, yeah. Yeah, you gotta sit down and read the if you hate this movie and you have the time or whatever, spend a little time on the IMDb Goofs page. It's hilarious how many stupid, yeah. Briefly, the yeah. I'm not gonna get into all the details, but briefly, it points out that realistically, the 400 million would have become 981 billion, a little over 1/10 of the value claimed in the movie. You know, it just, why didn't they just pick a higher number? I mean, it's already a 400 million in dummy coverage. You might as well have said that it was 4 billion. It's yeah. It's purely there so that we can be, oh, for a minute, oh, I bought 5 billion. Just when you make such ridiculous leaps, it just makes you look stupid. In the film's opening speech, Gabriel Scheer discusses Dog Day Afternoons being a 1976 work of fiction that didn't push the envelope and showed Hollywood's lack of realism. Dog Day Afternoon was a true story, not fiction, depicted realistically. The film ended the way the true story ended. It was released in 1975, and the film's action takes place in 1972. How do you even get that many things wrong? Just spend 5 minutes on this Wikipedia page. It's ridiculous. It's just I think there maybe there should be some kind of rule that screenwriters have to spend at least, I don't know, 0.1% of the time they spend writing the script fact checking stuff that's so obviously easy to prove or disprove. How do you get that much wrong? Jeez. Axel Torvalds is said to be a Finn, but he is speaking German with his lawyer. And let's see. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into all of these. Just the yeah, I should say it's especially like the couple of character errors among others are incredibly funny to read if you really don't like the movie. If you do like the movie, maybe they're frustrating. And oh wow, I completely forgot. Yeah, the senator seems to be starting to point this out when he's killed. The thing with yeah Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, and I wrote, well, no one likes being corrected. I had forgotten that that was where that yeah that it already was there. I I don't mean to take credit for that. And yeah, at the end of the movie, the voiceover radio report of the terrorist death refers to an attack on the U.S. Embassy in Istanbul. Istanbul has not been the capital of Turkey for nearly a century. A U.S. diplomatic presence in Istanbul would likely be a consulate general. An attack on the U.S. Embassy in Turkey would have occurred in Ankara. How out of date can you be? That's like, I mean, you have to be trying. You have to be trying hard to get something that wrong. Like, we're not talking like, oh, but, you know, when the screenwriter was a child, he heard, no, no, no. That has to be like, well, his grandfather told him that, like, the capital. Before shooting the Fly Fishing Senator, Gabriel says patriotism doesn't have a 4-year shelf life. Unfortunately, politicians do. A senatorial term of office lasts 6 years, not 4. Who doesn't know that? I mean, obviously they're thinking of like the president, but just Axel is shot through one-way glass in the interrogation room. This glass would most likely be bulletproof. And right, so moving on to the quotes. I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to read any of these aloud, but let's see. And let's see. I guess, yeah, I don't think there's any of the. Yeah, so moving on. So alternate versions there's an old, yeah, for television they took other takes. So scene with Ginger at the pool, she wears a bikini. So what's he so did they like they should have had some other kind of like maybe she has like a tattoo that says you know I don't know, all hail Westeros or something. If she's just in a bikini, why is he so flustered? Has he not seen a woman in a bikini before? Yeah. And the and where Stanley Haxton's the mainframe of the Department of Defense, Helga is not there again. Then why is he like, oh, there's, why? Yeah, it's just it's yeah, probably they have takes where he isn't acting like it's just, but yeah, it seems really lazy to me that they didn't bother coming up with some other yeah that they let's see, excuse me, and movie connections and right there's a Watch Mojo video called Top 10 Needlessly Sexualized Female Movie Characters, and Ginger Knowles is number 9. I don't have any comments on the video, but I do think, yeah. I'm afraid I don't remember who else is in that on that list. Now, I do think some of the Paul Oakenfold Paul Oakenfold music is good. Let's see. And yeah, so we reach Wikipedia. And let's see. Yeah, slight box office success, negatively received by critics upon release. Slight box office success. It off a budget of 102 million, it made 147.1 million. Wow. Year 2001 was a very different from where we are now. That is not today. That is a huge loss. That's not slight success. Yeah. And let's see. Just gonna. I'm not certain I have anything. Let's see. Oh right, yeah. The blasé blend of bogus international intrigue and action for action's sake. Yes. And Swordfish suggests a James Bond movie stripped of humor. True, there are a few moments of wit, like the opening sequence, but the dominant tone masquerading as humor is a snide, rancid nihilism devoid of laughs. Absolutely. Unless wholesale destruction and gloating stupidity are what tickle your funny bone. Let's see. Excuse me. Oh, so that's what happened. I put the Rotten Tomatoes reviews at the bottom of this because I was half asleep, drunk and high at the time. Why on earth would I put them there? Well, anyway, let me real quick scroll through and see if there's anything I noted. Okay, so I did read them then. I just forgot. Some of these videos I do, I start preparing for them like a month or several months ahead, and I forget some of the, yeah. I noted that I want to highlight the thing with access granted, access denied, access granted, tension, yeah, and let's see. I mean, another thing is you could so easily remove the whole thing with the senator. The senator is there so that they can have the scene of him, they needed some explanation for who those guys were that were coming to kill Gabriel that he shoots. And that, yeah, that one action scene you could very easily remove. The senator doesn't accomplish anything. If you removed the senator, I mean, it's not like it particularly adds credibility. Like, yeah, what it adds is that we see that the senator changes his mind about him, sends a kill team, and that he's willing to kill an actual senator. You know, the and that he somehow gets away with it. Yeah, it adds to his character, but it's again, it's completely ridiculous. You can't. That's not something that yeah. And the let's see, yeah, the and yeah, and Axel Torvalds is there for the kill, and for Stan to be like, they killed me, that's all. The story is mostly about what happens to various objects, plate glass windows, SUVs, senators, when they're riddled with bullets or detonated by explosives. Yeah. Whatever interest the film creates is squandered via the smug, showy amorality that runs through it. Let's see. How much more stuff do we need to see getting blown up? Exactly the sort of movie Travolta's character is talking about in the film's opening sequence. All style with no wit. A series of set pieces that grow progressively absurd, climaxing in a thoroughly perverse ending. The stronger than usual cast is a shame that Cena and his crew nearly ruined the film with a sense of overkill. Yeah, I think maybe it definitely could have been a lot less obnoxious. I mean, outside of the problematic elements, or at least if there were just not quite as many of them, this is the kind of movie that I could enjoy if it wasn't so obnoxious, if it wasn't just, yeah. The numerous explosions are choreographed and shot far more lovingly than the people they consume. Yeah, and I highlighted to mention the John Woo coma line. Yeah, I'm just in case you forgot in between. If John Woo were in a coma after a botched full frontal lobotomy, he could still make a better action movie than Swordfish. And he said this after Mission Impossible 2 came out. And producer Joel Silver comes up with a mediocre thriller that moves briskly but goes nowhere. There we go. That is the end of my notes. And yeah, I guess I don't really have anything else to add. But yeah, so Torvalds and the senator are there to to raise stakes and to say, oh, but that's it. They don't, neither of them accomplish anything in the movie. You know, Axel is there so that the it's also just, why does Axel talk? He even says it. I'm already dead. And then, you know, just the moment that like, why doesn't he realize that the moment that the Don Cheadle is called away, that that's when they attack? It's just, it's so ridiculous. But yeah, so that's what they accomplish. But the sexualization of Ginger, for example, accomplishes nothing. You know, you can't even say, oh, you know, it distracts. You know, it means that Stan lowers his guard. But he still, when he sees that she's wearing a wire, he's, you know, no, he's not lowering his guard. If that were the case, then what's Gabriel doing? What about all the time that he's with Gabriel, not Ginger? He's, you know, he's still being tricked by them, you know. So, and the the what's it called? Holly's mother and the stepfather. Do we even ever see the stepfather? I think we see his dead body. What does that tell you? The movie isn't interested in this character other than what other characters say about him, other than that he dies so that there can be a dead body on camera. You know, obviously it's not real, but still, that's what they would rather show the dead body than, you know. And yeah, the movie wouldn't be that different if instead of the what's it called? Let's hypothetically say that Holly, you know, that Holly's mother had died before the movie started, and that she was in like some kind of foster home. Other than, you know, and then at the end, you know, Stanley is able to, you know, he can prove that he's now a fit parent or something, you know. Then you know, ultimately the same, you know, plot wise it's the same. The reason that it's not a foster home is because they wanted to have this thing of, this awful woman, don't you know, just know these awful women, and they're like sexually available, but not to you. Don't you just hate that? And can you imagine a woman raising a child because she's sexually available, you know? So that's awful for a child. It's this ridiculous. Meanwhile, Stanley himself is ogling women throughout the movie. You know, he doesn't say, you shouldn't make Helga do that. He's just like, Helga, get away. I'm trying to work here. You know, he's not, it doesn't bother him. So just yeah, man, I hate this movie. There are so many different ways that this movie is awful and worth hating. And I'm really relieved to get this off. I'm not doing videos on every single VHS I have. There are ones that I've decided to, you know, yeah, I have a list of ones that I own, and or rather I made a list of ones that I own, and then I went through one by one and decided, am I or am I not going to do a video on this? And yeah, I chose to do a video on this, and this, I don't know, this is probably the first time I've watched the movie in at least 10 years, maybe 15, and, excuse me, I'd forgotten just how bad it is, which is, I mean, comparatively, there are, you know, there are movies that are much older that I've watched less times, that I could tell you much more about, that I also haven't watched in 10 to 15 years, you know. No, I had forgotten. I think I kind of thought that, well, you know, today I'm not as, like, you know, when I last watched this, I wasn't, you know, yeah, when the when I first watched this, I was a teenager. So I thought, you know, when I was, yeah, whatever. When I was a teenager, I had a problem with the movie. I'm sure today I'll be fine, which is really ironic because last time I sat down and seriously applied myself, tried to watch Resident Evil Apocalypse. I actually found that that's really the kind of movie it's really very much made for teenagers. It's the kind of thing that other than teenagers, like it's the speed at which it moves is just ridiculous for anyone not a teenager, and yeah. So I don't know why I thought. Actually, yeah, I think I decided to do a video on this movie before watching Resident Evil. That's the thing, and then I didn't change my mind. But like I said, I'm glad I did this video. I'm glad that I got myself. There's some chance I'll never watch this movie again, or if I do, it'll be with someone else who also hates it, and will like riff it or something, do a full and MST3K our way through the entire thing. But the idea of me sitting down watching this movie, yeah, I'm really glad I got this off my chest. These are things that yeah. So with that said, this was for me a short video, but then some of these more recent of these, I found a VHS that yeah, I I watched a VHS that yeah, the I just briefly want to show. Let's see if I can catch the light. My good. Yeah, something like that. I like that all of them are sitting there mildly disinterested. Like none of them are like just none of them seem to particularly care about anything going on in the yeah. But the yeah. So the that is everything that I wanted to say, and I hope you enjoyed watching, as I enjoyed watching and recording, and I'll catch you next time.